We are so thrilled to be partnering with Hinge. Hinge is the dating app designed to be deleted. As you all know, I'm a huge Hinge advocate as I met my partner of almost 3 years on the app. Even before meeting him, Hinge was always my go-to app because I met more relationship-minded people here and had some great dates. Clearly, I haven't been on the app for a little while, but I re-downloaded it to check out some of the new features. One that stood out to me was the voice prompt, my best friend's take on why you should date me, where your friend can hype you up. Not only does this make the profile creation less daunting, but it's not always easy to see your own green flags. So to test it out, I asked Yue some fun prompts to get her take on what I could put if I was dating again. So the first one, how long have we known each other? What was your first impression of me and how has that changed?
Julie and I have known each other for almost 10 years. My first impression of Julie was that she's very social, but I've learned that she has a lot more depth to her beyond the social butterfly that she is.
My next prompt, what do you think are my green flags?
I would say she's deeply loyal. She believes in love, curious mindset, and she is fearlessly ambitious.
And then last but not least, what kind of friend am I?
Julie is the kind of friend who will always have your back, no matter what.
Damn, that feels nice to hear. So download Hinge and try voice prompts today. Then find someone worth deleting the app for. If you've been listening to the pod, you know I'm marking my calendar for the big sale from Last Bottle Wines, one of our wonderful sponsors. If you don't already know, they're a Napa-based online wine shop that offers 30 to 70% off retail. And the best part, there's no subscriptions, no fees, and no minimum purchase, just a daily email with really great wine. And as I mentioned, they're having a massive sale. Their marathon sale is coming up on March 28th and 29th. They flip that one wine per day rule on its head and instead offer back-to-back, two-back deals. That means wines are only up on the site for a couple minutes at a time. We got a preview order with the mini marathon package of some of their favorites, and I'm telling you, it's a sale you want to get in on. And the best part is we're offering Dateable listeners 10% off your first order with code DATEABLE. Sign up at lastbottlewines.com and use the code DATEABLE and find out why Last Bottle is the most fun way to discover and buy amazing wine.
Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Krafchick.
We're active daters turned dating sociologists.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to the Dateable Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to Brunch Talk by the Dateable Podcast. This is where we answer your burning dating questions. And we know that around this time of the year, there are many of those, more than usual.
Yes, turkey with a side of dating problems. That's where we are.
Sounds delicious. We'll give you heartburn and maybe heartbreak. Well, here's our question for this week's episode. Very much related. With the holidays around the corner, how do I deal with questions from my family when I go home for the holidays?
And for more context, our listener wrote in and said, I'm dreading going home for the holidays because every year my family pressures me about why I'm still single and when they can start to expect grandchildren. It makes me not want to even go home for the holidays. How do I deal with this?
This just reminds me of my grandma's comment to me. I just saw my grandma when I went back to China. She's 90. And she said, you know, you delayed my chances of seeing a fifth generation, meaning I'm old enough to have grandkids myself.
Damn.
To give to her. So that's a lot of pressure for my cousin's kid who's only 9. So she better start having kids soon so my grandma can see a fifth generation. This is a tough one because your relatives only have this to say to you. Like, they don't care about your career. They don't care about anything. Others like, are you getting married? Are you dating anyone? Are you going to have kids? Like, it's always top of mind for them. I feel like it's a great opportunity for you to talk about all the other awesome things going on in your life because they don't know. If you don't tell them, they just think you spend all of your time trying to date and trying to find someone.
Right.
But what if you were to say, well, I mean, I'm doing my best in dating in the love life department, but check out all the other amazing things I'm doing in my life.
So here's a crazy thought. I feel like inevitably, you know, it's going to come up, right? If you have those parents that just ask you every year, I luckily did not have those parents, but I know a lot of people have them. Why don't you just nip it in the bud? Like as soon as you get home, basically. Just be like, look, I know we're going to talk about this. It's something that's top of mind for me too. I'm actively dating. I'm trying to meet that right person. When I have news, I'll let you know. Just address it, put it out there, and then move forward. Then you don't have to be thinking the whole time, when are they going to ask about this? Is this going to come up? I really think this question, how you answer it, dictates how much of a thing it ends up being. If you can just confidently shut it down too, in the sense of, even just saying like, I'm really happy right now. I'm doing well. A lot of times when parents ask, it's coming from a place of them old school mentality of like wanting to make sure you're okay and protected. Just giving them that assurance, telling them you're on it. Maybe that's enough.
Yeah, get ahead of it. Maybe even have a PowerPoint presentation, just like
email it before you
down.
Get there. Just be like, we don't need to talk about this.
Or go through your full dating history of the year and then just bore them to death. Be like, January, there was Ghoster Joe.
Yeah, they'll never ask again.
February, there was this guy, I forget his name, but we met at a bar, and just like go through the whole detailed history. I'm sure they'll never ask you again. But I do love that idea of just getting ahead of it, addressing it early on, and then just keeping it positive. And I think that's the key is this is all well-intentioned. They're not trying to hurt you with these questions. So it's better for you to just wrap it up positively, like, I am trying my best. When I have news, I will tell you, but I'm having a great time dating. It's been fun.
Exactly.
And I've had some success. So like, just keep it positive and optimistic. That's all they really need to hear. The last thing they need to hear from you is stop asking me.
Right. They're just going to double down and ask you more. And that's probably what's been the way you've responded up until then. I know for me, that was it. It was like, oh, get off my back. Like if that came up from people.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, please stop asking me. I don't have anything to tell you. You know what that does for my mom? She'll start sending me guys she wants to set me up with.
I remember when she did that.
She's still doing that.
Well, that's true. She's back in a new era now. When she would be on those like chat groups, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad.
She found a new one for me. She was really optimistic about him. And then later she told me, she's like, I found out he sleeps in a van.
Oh my God.
She nixed that one for me. Thank God. I'm like, thanks, Mom, for doing your due diligence. But, again, it's well-intentioned. They're just trying to make sure that you are taken care of and someone is thinking about you other than them.
Yeah.
So it comes from a good place, but I get that it can get very annoying.
Absolutely. I do think like when other people ask, like extended family, I'm just like thinking about that too. A lot of times, you're right, it comes from not knowing what else to talk about. Even though this could be a touchy subject, but for whatever reason, it seems like something that they could bring up. So yeah, fill in the time, ask them about their own lives, like what's going on with them, whatever you need to do to move the conversation along. But also some of it, I think, just is your own mindset. Like, who cares? Like if you can get into the mindset of like, this topic isn't that big a deal. If it comes up, it comes up. Easier said than done. But really, when you think about it, like, why is it irking you? Is it because like you're unhappy with where you are? Usually it comes back to yourself. But if you can separate that out and just say, okay, it's a common conversation topic. That's all people want. Mm-hmm. Sure, I can still be like in therapy working through my dating issues, but I don't need to conflate those two at the Thanksgiving table.
Another idea, this is unintentional, but it happened to me, is find an ambassador inside the family.
I like that idea.
So when I went back to China this time, I was expecting all of my extended family to ask about my love life. No one did. Because my parents got there early. I'm pretty sure my mom probably sat them down, was like, listen, she went through a lot this year. Don't bring it up as a sore subject. Just don't ask her about it. Nobody asked, except for my grandma. But she's, she asked in a way of like, she didn't even ask. She just made a comment. She just made me feel bad for not having kids at 42.
She's like, I'm not going to ask about the partner. I'll just skip over that.
I'm more concerned about the kid. Okay. I'm sure my parents went in. It was just like, they really truly spoke up for me. So I was really appreciative of that.
That's a really good point. I mean, I think like you can also say like, hey, I don't really want to talk about this right now. That's also okay. Like, I think, yeah, like it might bring more of like, why don't they want to talk about it? Some of that. But I think shutting it down that way is totally okay. You could even say something like, hey, I came home so I could catch up with you and bond. I'd love to do that over talk about my dating life.
Yeah, those are all great ways. But I also understand that as soon as those questions come up, it puts immense pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
You start questioning too. I've definitely been there. Like, why am I single? Why haven't I brought someone home for the holidays? And you know the answers. Like, you've been dealing with this on a daily. For some reason, when these questions get asked, it triggers something in you. So back to Julie's point of getting ahead of it, maybe just take some deep breaths, do some mantras, do some meditation, like set the expectation that this may trigger you and come up with a plan of how you would deal with that.
I mean, that's probably a good plan for the whole holiday season because it can be very triggering in general. I want to ask you about, like, could you just avoid going home for the holidays? But before we do, let's take a break to hear from our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by Via. We all know there are things that can help set the mood in the bedroom, but did you know a little THC could also do that? Yes, Via has developed a unique blend of pleasure-enhancing cannabinoids, libido-strengthening herbs, and a low dose of THC all into one mind-blowing gummy called High Love. This gummy, wow, it will awaken your senses, increase blood flow, and intensify any sexual experience. I've been pleasantly surprised by the High Love gummies because it is just the right amount of THC for me to have a good time without feeling sleepy. And hey, if THC is not your thing, Via also offers a wide array of other gummies without it. And everything legally ships in 50 states with discreet packaging directly to your door. So if you're over 21, you can get 15% off and a free pack of award-winning Dreams THC plus CBN sleep gummies with our exclusive code DATEABLE at viahemp.com. That's VIIAHEMP.com. Let the gummies work their magic. Head to viahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE to receive 15% off and one free sample of their Sleepy Dream gummies. That's viahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE at checkout. Take your passion and pleasure to a whole new level with High Love from Via Hemp.
As you know, I recently left my corporate job and I've been in total recovery mode, all about self-care. One of my new routines is the nighttime shower before bed. There's just something about washing away the day and that reflection that's been super helpful for me. I've been using one of our partners, Osea's Mega Moisture Duo. This combo body oil and body lotion are so freaking incredible. It literally feels like I'm at a spa. I realized that the secret is seaweed and other skin level ingredients that are normally reserved for face products. And that's why I was so excited when Osea became one of our partners. And, we're so grateful for partners like this because one, they keep the show going, but they're also super good for all of our listeners and for our own well-being. So if you want to have that nighttime bliss like I am doing, you can get 10% off your first order site-wide with code DATEABLE at oseamalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. So head to oseamalibu.com and use the code DATEABLE for 10% off. Let us know which products you end up going with. Share them in social. Super excited to see what you end up choosing.
This episode is made possible by Armoire. Armoire makes getting dressed easy. With a clothing rental membership from Armoire, build the perfect wardrobe with brands that are high quality, unique, and recommended just for you. All you have to do is take a 5-minute style quiz and select items from your dynamic, personalized closet. The styles show up at your door in as little as 2 days. Then when you're ready for new clothes, just swap them out. Listen, I live in Southern California. There is absolutely no need for puffer coats or any sort of those winter jackets. But when I travel anywhere else in the world in these cold months, I'm often burdened with the task of getting winter clothes. And now with Armoire, I can just rent my winter wardrobe. It's brilliant. Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/dateable. That is armoire.style, spelled ARMOIRE.style/DATEABLE to get up to 50% off your first first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today.
So let's say your parents are just so much pressure and you know like they're not going to let it go. Is there a world where it makes sense to just not go home?
As a former avoidant, I would say it's never a good idea to avoid because the problem doesn't go away. You're just delaying the problem from happening. I understand that maybe if you're really overwhelmed, maybe that's like the last thing you want on your plate. So maybe you just don't want to go home. But think about, will the benefits outweigh this pressure? I think the benefits of seeing your family, at least for me, outweigh like that triggered factor. You know, it's really up to you and your relationship with your family.
Look, if you really want to go to the Caribbean for the holidays and that's what's calling to you, do it.
Yeah.
That being said, I wouldn't do it because of the fear of someone asking about my dating life. Like if I just wanted to take a break and go to the Caribbean, that's one thing. But doing it in response to that, I just wouldn't want to give dating and this stigma of being single that much power when you think about it. Like I wouldn't want that to be the reason why I derailed my plans or, like you said, didn't get the time to bond with my family. And I'm pretty sure your family doesn't want that either. Like this should not be a reason that you stop seeing someone because of that. So if it's to that point, I think this is an opportunity to have a conversation with that family member and just be like, look, I'm really feeling alienated by this to the point that I actually debated not coming home, but I don't want that. And then open that up as a conversation of how do we not let this keep coming up as a way that's like causing so much friction to a relationship.
A lot of times relatives don't know the stress they're putting on you with these questions. They think they're just being inquisitive and they're being thoughtful. If you can tell them how it makes you feel, it might help deter them from asking you these questions again. Again, it's coming from a good place. They're not intending to make you feel like you can't come home for the holidays just to avoid these questions, right? I'm sure they want to hear your perspective too. So open communication, talking it out loud, expressing the pressures that you're feeling. I'm trying my best. I'm also experiencing a lot of work pressure. I'm in the middle of moving. I'm going through some transitions. So this is kind of like low priority on my list right now. I have all this other stuff going on. That could also help too for them to realize that you're a fully formed human being and you have so many other things happening, not just trying to find a partner.
Definitely. You take this time to do what's right for you over the holiday season, but remember that like the solution isn't to lose other connections. So the more you can, build up your life with all the other relationships in your like orbit of what's happening for you, that's going to make you feel less lonely too. Ultimately, of course, if someone's coming at you with the stuff that you don't want to talk about may not immediately help, but I really do think having that conversation could help rectify that relationship.
Julie, have you ever been guilty of asking some cousins or siblings these questions around the holidays?
I feel like I don't really ask because
I
know how much it alienates people. Like, I feel like it's the same even if someone, is in a relationship. It's not reserved just for single people. It's like, when are you getting married? When are you having kids? When are you having your second kid? Like, there's a lot of pressure that can come up. And I really feel like, as someone that was single for so many years and dreading these types of conversations, that I don't want to do that to someone else. What about you?
Guilty. Very guilty.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I recently did it with my cousins because I hadn't seen them in 4 years. I didn't really grow up with them. So when I see them, like the single ones, I feel like it's the only thing that we can talk about. I don't know what else to ask them about. Like their work, I don't really understand.
Yeah, it is a commonality. Yeah.
And then it's what? It's dating. So if I understand why the questions get asked, because I'm just trying to connect. I'm trying to find a common language we can speak. And most of them will, answer my questions, but I also know that they have other stuff going on now, which is good. It's just like trying to find a common ground. I'm not as concerned about whether they're dating or not. I'm just like trying to connect.
You're just trying to find some sort of conversation.
Yeah. Because we're alone and it's awkward. I'm like, what do we talk about?
It's so crazy, though, that like that could be the intention, yet the result of it is that this person's alienating me and they're making me feel bad. Like that, it just goes to show you how much we internalize. And probably a lot of how you answer that question or react to it is basically what you're feeling yourself.
Yeah.
So I think it's just taking an opportunity to see this as a point of reflection. And maybe it's worth, talking to someone about this a little more of why it's such a trigger for you.
Good luck, everyone, and share your stories with us. Tell us how you've been dealing with these questions and family pressure, because we've all been there, and it probably makes us all feel better to hear that other people are going through the same things.
Yeah, you can always refer your family members to Dateable, and then they can see that it's not just you that's struggling with modern dating. So I think a lot of times family members are like, it's so easy. What's wrong with them? Like, why can't they meet someone? Send them this. There's like 300 episodes they can listen. If they want to understand your struggles and your pain, I guarantee they won't ask you next year if you send them our library.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. That's such a good point. Yes, the whole show is dedicated to how complicated modern dating is, okay? Just by the sheer number of episodes, that should give some information to your relatives.
They'll either give up or they'll understand your struggles. One of the two. Win-win.
And ask them to give us a rating review, by the way. You should too. 5 stars in Apple Podcasts. Just give us 5 stars. And in the body of the paragraph, just tell us if you're a relative and if you understand the struggles of the modern single right now.
Love it. Okay, well, make sure to rate, subscribe, all the things, and you can catch us every week with Brunch Talk and then also our long form podcast that airs every Wednesday.
Great. Send us your questions, hello@dateablepodcast.com, or you can DM us on Instagram @dateablepodcast is the handle. And we'll see you all next week.
See you next week.
The Dateable Podcast is part of the Frolic Media Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram @dateablepodcast and visit dateablepodcast.com for access to all the episodes and our premium programs. Also, make sure to subscribe today if you haven't already on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform so you are the first to get all the latest episodes. And most importantly, stay dateable.